Hello, Ruskif here. In our last video tutorial we talked about delegates and user functions. Today I'm going to talk about coroutines. Coroutines are especially useful, especially when you're dealing with large loops or functions where you need to be able to stop and wait for a second and then resume. And that's basically what coroutines are for. So we're going to start off by jumping into our editor, and I'm just going to get a basic server block here and define a function. So function void inf loop. You can already see where this is going, and I'm going to put an infinite loop here while true. Okay, and now we know that if I was to call this function, we would instantly hit tick quota, or pretty much hit tick quota straight away. There we go. Okay, now let's see how many executions of this infinite loop we get before we hit the tick quota. So I'm just going to define a number here, and it's going to start off at 0, and we're just going to print the value of I and then increment it. Okay, so 1296 executions of this while loop before we hit tick quota. And remember, we're not doing very much here, we're just printing a value, so we're not really doing that much. So if we was to do a lot more in there, we would probably get quite substantially less than the 1000 or so executions. Okay, so in my fact, let's put that back for a second. Okay, now what if I wanted to do this over time instead? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to yield my coroutine. Okay, so first of all I need to explain to you how to turn this function into a coroutine, and that is really simple. Coroutine cr, let's call this cr equals coroutine. Okay, delegate, cast this infinite loop to a delegate, and here we have our coroutine. Now if I take out the yield for 1 second, and I will explain to you exactly what that does in just a second, and we run our coroutine straight off the bat. So to start a coroutine, what you got to do is you got to do coroutine.resume. Okay, and that will start the coroutine. Okay, but obviously this is going to tick quota after our 1296 executions. Okay, now if I put yield here, what will happen, matter of fact, I'll show you what happens. We get 0, and the coroutine, the function, is not running anymore. It's literally printed the first value and now it's stopped. So what I'm going to do here is timer timer simple, create a simple timer, 1 second. I'm going to whack in a quick function here, and it's going to do cr.resume end. Oh, no, that's lower. Right, okay, and I'm going to do the same for 2 seconds and 3 seconds. Right, so this yield here basically pauses our function. Okay, now yield can only be used within a function that is a coroutine. Okay, so right here this is just a function, but right here we've turned it into a coroutine. Okay, so once this yield has been called, it doesn't execute anymore. In fact, it's paused, but we can resume it. So after 1 second it will resume and then run the next execution of the while loop, and then obviously it will yield again, and then after 2 seconds we'll resume, it will run, yield again, and after 3 seconds it will resume again. So let's take a look at that in practice. 0, 1, 2 and 3. So that's basically coroutines in a nutshell. But there's a few more things that we can do with coroutines, and I'm not going to go too much into depth. I don't want this to be a long video, but I'm going to replace this yield here with sleep, and I'm going to put 1 in there, and I'm going to get rid of these timers. Okay, so now I'm only going to resume the coroutine once. So the coroutine will start running and then it will call sleep. Now what sleep does is it just yields the coroutine and resumes it after the specified amount of seconds. Okay, so now I could put 0.01 here if I wanted, but for this example I'm just going to use 1. Okay, so every 1 second what's going to happen is we're just going to print the next value. Okay, and this means that we can do complicated things without the need to use up all our tick quota. We can just take our time, and obviously everything going on in here stays the same. Okay, so you'll notice when we call sleep, or when we did the resuming manually last time from our timer simples, I did not reset back to 0. Okay, and that is coroutines. There's a few more things you can do with them, but I'm not going to explain that just now. In fact, there's one more thing I want to show you. Okay, and that is that coroutines can actually take arguments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take number I here, and I'm actually, oh, hang on, and I'm just going to pop that in there. Okay, and now if I did resume 10, now the parameter is only going to be passed through on the first call to resume, right? So this next time that I call resume, we can't change the parameter in the function. Okay, it doesn't work like that. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, and that, my friends, is coroutines. Goodbye.